Hello out there. Welcome to this week's edition of Dateline Lagos. I'm Loretta Chiogo. Last week was mixed with a series of events. The good, the not too good, and the sad one, which was the tragic tanker explosion that occurred on the Ojodu-Berger end of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Focus on the unfortunate incident will be on the way forward to end tanker accidents on Lagos roads. And on the bright side, Nigeria's vice president seeks collaboration among states to end poverty. Governor Akinwumi Ambode tasks public servants in Lagos State on excellent service as he hosts outstanding workers to a dinner. Although Nigeria is adjudged to be one of the poorest countries in the world, according to a report by Brookings Institution in the United States of America, but that position can be changed if visionary leadership and strong autonomous states are instituted. This was the thought of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who delivered a lecture at a special parliamentary session in commemoration of the 3rd anniversary of the 8th Lagos State House of Assembly.
It's the 3rd anniversary lecture of the 8th Legislative Assembly of the Lagos State Parliament. Attendance in this legislative chamber cuts across legislators, public office holders and traditional rulers, among others. Strengthening democratic institutions, panacea for enduring democracy, is the theme for this year. The Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Right Honourable Mudashiru Obasa, sets the tone, emphasizing the importance of collaboration between the executive and the legislature in advancing democracy.
We, as representatives of the people, strongly believe that this is a medium to contribute intellectually to the growth and development of the tenets of democracy, which in turn will strengthen and deepen our democratic practice and institutions. It is noteworthy to emphasize the need for the survival of the legislature by all means for democracy to thrive and be sustained. And this must be seen as the responsibility of all, most especially the executive. In addition, the relationship between the executive and legislature should be of cordiality, otherwise a sign of instability and catastrophe will rear its ugly head.
That cues the Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who is the guest lecturer. He narrows his focus on the eradication of poverty in Nigeria.
There is no question that poverty remains one of the most critical contemporary challenges of our nation. And it is both a cause and effect of the conditions of squalor, disease, and misery that millions of our people live in. The good news is that it can be solved. The good news is that poverty can be eradicated.
Professor Osinbajo identifies education, healthcare, and the provision of jobs as 3 issues that are crucial to resolving the poverty problem, with reference to some of the actions taken by the federal government in these areas.
There is a crucial need to address the following, to address all of these issues by a mass youth and adult literacy program, leveraging radio and electronic and mobile platforms, comprehensive educational curriculum, including science, technology, engineering, and maths, the so-called STEM subjects, and technical and vocational and educational training, teacher education, capacity building, and professional development. The good news, of course, is that most of the problems with our healthcare system are also solvable. And it is better funding and more deliberately targeted preventive healthcare. States must ramp up their spend. This year, for the first time, with the active collaboration of the National Assembly, we have met the 1% national budget, 1% of our national budget, prescribed by the National Health Act for healthcare costs. So there's no question at all that we must ensure that we spend more on healthcare, just as we must spend more on education. So how do we deal with the job creation issue? As I mentioned earlier, our party, the APC, realized that we simply had to adopt a bottom-up economic model, one where government directly intervenes by a massive social investment program in matters of poverty, and this sort of program addresses the youth, especially graduate employment, and credit to small businesses, but especially credit to the smallest businesses, the one-table trader, the bread or plantain seller, or the meshai. These people, the smallest traders, these petty traders, their inventory is usually no more than between 5,000 and 10,000 naira. But they are an important part of the value chain of most goods that they sell. One of the reasons why our poverty figures are high is because of our large informal sector consisting of the petty traders whose income does not fit into the extreme poverty bracket, but they are counted in the number because there is no way of tracking them or their income. The plan of the federal government is to expand our microcredit program to give smaller credits to this group, eventually open bank accounts, what is called the Government Savings Account, GSA. And by giving credit to them, it can replenish and increase their inventories and give them a stronger chance to earn more while they also service the value chain that they're a part of. But more importantly, we bring them into the formal sector where they have access to government and private credit, and we lift more permanently out of poverty. This is an important part of the economic growth plan, and we believe that by this month we should begin the smallest microcredit, giving microcredit to the bottom of the pyramid.
He advances two indices to support his belief that the important structural change needed in Nigeria is to speedily eradicate poverty, and this is best achieved by what he refers to as stronger states.
What does that concept of a strong state mean? It means two things. The first is what states must do for themselves, what a state must do for itself. By that I mean the three arms of government, especially the legislature and the executive, working proactively and creatively as independent administrative and wealth-producing economic entities. So the legislature, working with the executive, must be able to create an environment where the state is a proactive economic entity, able to produce wealth by itself, independent of even the federal government and independent of other states. Nigeria is a federation of 36 subnationals and a federal capital territory. The people, the land, the businesses, the schools, the healthcare facilities are all in the states. It is simply impossible for the nation to be wealthy when its component parts are poor. The standard of living of the federation depends on the standard of living of the people who live in the states. The second is the devolution of more power to the states, enabling the states to control more of their resources and to make more of their own administrative decisions, such as the creation of local governments, the state police, community police, including state penitentiaries or state prisons, the creation of special courts and tribunals, which are equivalent to the high courts that are provided for in the Constitution.
One state that has shown commitment in supporting small businesses to grow is the Lagos State government. Through the State Employment Trust Fund, 25 billion naira has been earmarked for disbursement within 4 years to empower business owners with capital to revive moribund ventures, boost trade, and help people to start new ventures. This initiative receives commendation from the Vice President, who describes it as an excellent example of state intervention in creating opportunities for small businesses, thereby tackling poverty.
As of May 2018, this year, 7,000 loans totaling about 5 billion naira have already been given out, and 12,500 jobs have been created or were created even within the first 6 months of its operation. We think that this is a very important initiative of the state government, and we think that it is important because it understands and addresses the concerns of an important segment of our society, young, bright minds, that requires some capital to be able to just multiply their ideas and multiply their thoughts.
The Vice President's lecture ends with a challenge to public officers, urging them to live up to their responsibilities and to ensure that the choice they make advances the rights, the comfort and interest of the people. As the main discussant of the theme, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Alhaji Gali Umar Naba, offers his thoughts on how the legislature and the executive can work together to advance democracy.
For our democracy to progress, the legislature and the executive cannot live in harmony. There must always be that friction. And it is in that friction that arises as a result of the distribution of governmental powers that people enjoy their liberty.
Perhaps the views presented by the speakers further challenge the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Akinwumi Ambode, to put more effort in strengthening the cordial relationship among the arms of government in order to ensure a common vision of sustainable development.
There's no leadership that can succeed without team dynamics. And the most important part of it is that the three arms of government in Lagos State have continually, strive to make sure that we uphold the tenets of democracy and also create a clear example of what development and growth should be. We stand today as the shining example of what democracy should be and what actually development and growth should be. And we're excited that in that collaboration, we will take Lagos and also take Nigeria to the rightful place it belongs.
The annual discourse has become one of the flagship programs of the Lagos State Assembly, an intellectual and academic dialogue anchored on governance and the rule of law in Nigeria. The event ends with the cutting of the anniversary cake.